November 10, 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald radioed that it was holding its own. 17 minutes later, 729 feet of iron disappeared into Lake Superior with 29 souls aboard, and nobody's ever agreed on why. For decades, the Coast Guard's official investigation pointed to one culprit, a rogue wave. The theory was elegant. Superior can churn up walls of water 30 feet high. One caught the Fitzgerald off guard, rolled her, flooded the hatches. Case closed. But that explanation had a problem, and it wasn't weather. The Fitzgerald was no fragile merchant vessel. She was 729 feet long, weighed 632 tons, and had been built in 1958 to haul iron ore across the Great Lakes. Her captain, Ernest McSorley, had logged over 40 years at sea. He knew Superior's moods. On the morning of November 10th, he made a decision that would define the day. He chose to push north toward Whitefish Bay despite a gale warning. McSorley wasn't reckless. He had information, or thought he did. Weather reports suggested the storm would pass north of his position. The Fitzgerald had weathered Superior's worst before. The calculus was simple: push through, reach shelter by evening, unload the ore, turn around. It was a bet he'd made and won 100 times. But Superior had other plans. By afternoon, winds were gusting above 50 knots. The Fitzgerald began taking on water, not through catastrophic breach, but through her ventilation system, her hatches, the seams where her hull flexed under stress. McSorley radioed the Arthur M. Anderson, a sister ship behind him. "We are holding our own." That was 7:10 p.m. He had 17 minutes left. At 7:27 p.m., the Fitzgerald vanished from radar. No distress call, no time to launch lifeboats, no survivors. The Anderson's crew watched their screens go blank and knew what that meant, but not why it happened. That uncertainty would haunt investigators for decades. The rogue wave theory was seductive because it was simple. One giant wave, one moment of bad luck, one unsinkable ship finally sunk. The Coast Guard published it. The public accepted it. And then in 1989, a wreck hunter named Robert Ballard dove to the lake floor and found the Fitzgerald's remains, and the narrative cracked wide open. The hull wasn't split open like a rogue wave would have done. Instead, Ballard found something far more specific. The Fitzgerald's cargo hatches had failed. Her deck was buckled. The ore inside had shifted, punching holes in her hull from the inside. But that still didn't explain the speed of the sinking. Something else was at play. Here's where the real decision emerges. The Fitzgerald was built to specifications from 1958. By 1975, the Great Lakes shipping industry had changed. Captains were loading heavier ore. Ships were pushed harder. McSorley's vessel, despite her size, had been modified over 17 years in ways that increased her vulnerability. But there's more. Ballard's team discovered that the Fitzgerald had been riding lower in the water than her design specs allowed. She was overloaded. McSorley knew this. Shipping companies knew this. The industry knew this. It was standard practice: squeeze more cargo, cut more costs, move more tonnage. The cost was paid in risk. So McSorley's decision to push north wasn't made in isolation. It was made inside a system that incentivized speed over caution, tonnage over safety, and profit over margin. When he radioed that he was holding our own, he was likely unaware that his ship was already compromised, already taking water through failures nobody had flagged. The final hours unfolded like this. The Fitzgerald's hatches, weakened by age and modification, couldn't handle the stress. Water poured in, the cargo shifted, the hull buckled. The ship's structural integrity, already compromised by overloading, failed catastrophically. What the rogue wave theory missed was that the Fitzgerald was sinking before the storm even found her. The real culprit wasn't nature, it was negligence, not McSorley's. His decision to push north was reasonable given what he knew, but the decisions made above him to overload the ship, to defer maintenance, to operate beyond design specifications in pursuit of profit, those decisions killed 29 people. After the Fitzgerald, regulations changed. The Great Lakes shipping industry was forced to confront the costs of cutting corners. Hatch design standards were rewritten. Loading limits were enforced. Inspection protocols tightened. The price of those 29 lives became a ledger entry in maritime law. But the mystery never fully closed. Theories still circulate. Some researchers argue a structural failure occurred before any rogue wave. Others point to a shoaling event near Whitefish Point. The Fitzgerald sits in 530 feet of water, and Superior keeps her secrets well. What we know for certain is this: a ship made decisions under pressure, industry structures rewarded risk-taking, and nature delivered the consequence. The Fitzgerald didn't sink because she was cursed or because of one rogue wave. She sank because of a cascade of human choices, each one rational in isolation, each one lethal in combination. The Fitzgerald remains the deadliest maritime disaster on the Great Lakes in modern history. Her crew is memorialized, her story told and retold, but the lesson often gets buried. Disasters aren't born from single moments of bad luck. They're built from 1,000 small decisions made by ordinary people inside systems that don't account for the cost. Subscribe, there's a new shipwreck mystery waiting, and each one rewrites the history you thought you knew.